Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to invite you to pause, just for a moment. In this fast-moving world, we live in a world overflowing with self-help, books, productivity hacks, endless TED Talks. We're constantly told that the secret to a better life is to think harder, do more, or somehow be better. Sounds familiar, right? Everywhere we turn, it's about chasing improvement, chasing achievement, chasing the next big thing. But let me ask you this. Have you ever stopped to wonder if the answers you're seeking can really be found in another checklist, another strategy, another motivational speech? Or could it be that what you're looking for isn't out there at all, but waiting quietly within you? See, those of us who've walked through pain, real pain, know this truth. Maybe you've felt the sting of loss or the weight of disappointment. Maybe you've spent sleepless nights searching for meaning in the middle of chaos. If so, you already know there are certain truths no book, no data, no expert can give you. These truths aren't grasped by the mind alone. They're felt deep in the soul. And here's where real spirituality begins. It's not about rituals. It's not about labels or belonging to some exclusive club. It's not about how many affirmations you recite or how often you meditate. True spirituality, the kind that changes lives, is about tuning in to something far deeper, something that lives beyond all the noise, beyond all the striving. It's about learning to hear the wisdom that only silence can reveal. It's about finding strength, not in control, but in surrender. And it's about discovering the kind of lessons that no chart or metric could ever measure, lessons that are written in the language of your heart, not your head. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed by the pressure to do more or be more, I invite you to stay with me, because in this video, we're going to explore the kind of inner truths that don't just help you build a life, they help you live it with meaning, with peace, with a deeper connection to what really matters. Hit that like button if you're ready to go beyond the surface. And let's begin this journey together into a quieter, more powerful kind of wisdom. Let me ask you something. Have you ever held on so tightly to something, a dream, a person, a plan, that it felt like your whole identity depended on it? Maybe it was a job you thought would define your success. Maybe it was a relationship you believed would last forever. Or maybe it was a version of yourself you kept chasing, hoping that one day you'd finally feel complete. We live in a world that teaches us from a very young age that holding on is strength. We're taught to cling to our achievements, our goals, our pride, even to the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. Society rewards the ones who fight for what they want, who never give up, who push through at all costs. And don't get me wrong, determination has its place. But what if I told you that sometimes the greatest strength is learning to let go? This isn't about giving up. It's not about walking away out of fear or weakness. True letting go, the kind that comes from deep within, is an act of courage. It's an act of trust. It means accepting that some things, no matter how tightly we hold on, are not meant to stay. It means recognizing when it's time to stop fighting the current and instead allow life to carry us where we're truly meant to be. Think about it. How many times have you tried to force something to work, a friendship that drained you, a job that left you empty, a dream that no longer fit who you've become? And how did it feel? Exhausting, right? Like trying to hold sand in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. Now imagine this instead: opening your hand, letting the sand flow freely, watching it glimmer in the light as it drifts on the breeze. That's the peace, that comes with letting go. In real spirituality, not the kind tied to rituals or labels, but the kind that touches your soul, peace begins where attachment ends. Letting go allows you to breathe again. It opens the door to freedom, not because you've lost something, but because you've stopped resisting what is. Here's something to reflect on. What are you holding on to right now that's keeping you from peace? Is it an old wound, a failed plan, the weight of expectations yours or someone else's? What would happen if you chose today to release it? To say, I trust life. I trust that what is meant for me will find me, and what is not will fall away. When we let go, we're not abandoning our hopes or giving up on happiness. We're simply stepping out of the way so that something greater can unfold, something that perhaps we couldn't have imagined while we were so focused on forcing a particular outcome. I remember a time in my own life when I clung to an idea of success that wasn't truly mine. I chased it relentlessly, believing it would finally give me that sense of fulfillment I longed for. But the harder I tried, the more disconnected I felt from myself, from others, from any real sense of joy. It wasn't until I allowed myself to release that vision, to let go of what I thought had to be, that I discovered a path far more meaningful, one that aligned with who I really am, not who I thought I was supposed to be. And that's the gift of letting go. It reveals what's real. It clears away the noise so you can finally hear the quiet voice of your own heart. It makes space for what is meant for you, the peace, the love, the purpose that no amount of striving can force into place. So as we move forward in this journey together, I invite you to ask yourself, where in your life is it time to loosen your grip? Where might surrender be the doorway to freedom? If you feel these words speak to something inside you, take a moment to breathe that in. And if you're ready to explore more about how spiritual truth like this can transform your life, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're just getting started. Remember, letting go isn't losing. Letting go is returning to yourself, to peace, to the natural flow of life that's been waiting for you all along. Let me share a simple but powerful idea with you today, one that could change how you see yourself, your struggles, and even your future. Here it is. You are not your thoughts. I want you to let that sink in for a moment, because most of us, without realizing it, spend our days completely tangled up in our own thinking. We wake up and the mind starts racing. Worries about the future, regrets about the past, comparisons with others, judgments about ourselves, and on it goes like a never-ending storm of words and images inside our heads. Have you ever noticed how exhausting that is? How heavy it feels to carry around all that mental noise? We start to believe that these thoughts, these worries, fears and doubts are who we are. But here's the truth, that real spirituality gently teaches us, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that notices them. Imagine this. You're lying on your back, watching clouds drift across the sky. Some clouds are dark and stormy. Some are soft and white. Some move quickly. Some seem to hang in place. But no matter what the clouds do, the sky itself is unchanged, vast, open, untouched. That sky is you, the real you. The thoughts, like clouds, come and go. But beneath them, beyond them, you remain steady, peaceful, aware. And this isn't just a nice idea. It's something you can experience directly. Through practices like meditation, deep prayer, or simply sitting in stillness, you can start to see your thoughts for what they are. Passing visitors, not permanent residents. Voices, not your true voice. I remember the first time this really clicked for me. I was going through a tough period, overwhelmed with anxiety, caught up in constant self-doubt. My mind felt like it was working against me, not for me. Then one morning during meditation, I noticed something. I was watching my thoughts spiral, but for a split second I saw that there was a part of me that wasn't caught in the storm. A quiet, calm space that was just observing, not judging, not reacting, just there. And in that moment I realized, oh, I am not this noise. I am the one who sees it. That shift changes everything. When you stop identifying with every thought that pops into your head, you stop being controlled by them. You stop feeling like you have to believe every fear, every criticism, every story your mind tells you. You gain the freedom to choose which thoughts deserve your attention and which can simply float on by. Here's a question I want you to sit with. What would your life feel like if you stopped believing every single thought that crossed your mind? What kind of peace might open up if you saw your thoughts as temporary like the clouds instead of permanent truths? The beautiful thing is, you can start exploring this today. You don't need fancy tools or years of study. Just pause, breathe. Watch your thoughts as they come and go. Notice how they arise and fade. You'll begin to see you're not the storm, you're the sky. And if you're wondering where to begin, start small. Set aside a few minutes in the morning. Sit quietly. Let your mind do whatever it wants, and instead of getting caught in it, just notice. Smile at your thoughts like you would at a child who's chattering away. With time, you'll build that muscle of awareness. You'll remember that the real you is deeper, calmer, wiser than the noise. So if you've been feeling weighed down by your own thoughts lately, by worries you can't shake, by inner criticism that won't stop, know this. You don't have to fight them. You don't have to silence them. Just see them for what they are. Clouds. And remember who you are, the open sky. If this message speaks to something inside, you don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and join me for more reflections on how spiritual wisdom can help you find real peace right here and now. Together, let's learn to stop living as prisoners of our thoughts and start living as the free, aware beings we truly are. Let me ask you something that might change the way you see every challenge in your life. When something painful happens, what's the first question that comes to your mind? For most of us, it sounds something like this. Why is this happening to me? And that's normal. It's human. The mind, the ego wants to make sense of the hurt, the loss, the unexpected change. We want to know why we're being targeted, why life seems so unfair at times. But what if I told you there's another way to see these moments? A way that doesn't leave you feeling like a victim of life's storms, but instead opens a door to purpose, to strength, to growth. What if the next time you face a hardship, you asked, not, why is this happening to me? But instead, what is this here to teach me? That one simple shift, from to me to through me, can change your entire experience of life. And this isn't just a mindset trick. It's a truth that every deep spiritual tradition points to. Because in real spirituality, the kind that touches your soul, not just your intellect, we learn that life isn't happening to us. It's happening through us. When we see life this way, every challenge stops being a punishment or a burden. It becomes a messenger, a teacher, a guide leading us towards something greater than we could have planned for ourselves. Think about a time in your life when something didn't go your way. Maybe you lost a job you thought you needed, Maybe a relationship ended that you believed was forever. Maybe life forced you down a path you would have never chosen on your own. And yet, looking back, can you see how that painful experience shaped you? How it stripped away what wasn't real, what wasn't right for you? How it prepared you for something bigger, something truer? You see, the ego, our small self, asks, "Why me?" Because it feels threatened, exposed, out of control. It clings to the idea that life is supposed to go a certain way, and when it doesn't, it panics. But the soul asks, "What can I learn?" Because the soul knows. It knows that growth rarely comes without discomfort, that diamonds are formed under pressure, that storms clear the air so new life can begin. Here's a personal truth I've lived. Some of the greatest blessings in my life came disguised as heartbreak. Times when I felt lost, completely lost, only to realize later that those moments were pushing me closer to who I'm truly meant to be. They were stripping away the illusions so I could finally see clearly. So here's my invitation to you. The next time you face a trial, try pausing. Take a breath and ask yourself, if this is not happening to punish me, but to prepare me, what might it be preparing me for? What if your pain is purifying you? What if your challenge is shaping you into the person you're here to become? What if life isn't against you at all? What if it's trying in its own way to guide you home? In this moment, can you feel the difference that shift brings from victim to student, from fear to curiosity, from resistance to trust? And here's the beautiful part. When you start living with this awareness, you stop seeing yourself as at the mercy of life. You start seeing yourself as part of life's deeper flow. You realize you're not being tested because you're weak. You're being prepared because you're strong, stronger than you even know. So if these words speak to your heart, I invite you to take them with you. Let them sit with you the next time life feels heavy. Remember, life is not against you. It's happening through you, shaping you, guiding you, if only you have the eyes to see it. And if you're ready to explore more about how spiritual wisdom can help you meet life's challenges with grace, with courage, with peace, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and join me on this journey. Together, let's learn to stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What's the lesson?" Let's take a breath together, just for a moment, right here, right now, in a world that's always racing forward, where every second seems filled with noise, notifications, headlines, opinions, and endless chatter. When was the last time you truly experienced silence? And I don't mean the absence of sound, I mean real deep, nourishing stillness. If you're like most of us, maybe it's been a while. Maybe you even find the idea of silence a little unsettling. After all, we're taught that we should always be doing something, saying something, thinking something. In fact, in today's world, silence can feel almost unnatural. But what if I told you that silence isn't empty, that it isn't something to fear or avoid, but something to welcome, to embrace? Because in truth, silence isn't the absence of life. It's where life's deepest truths finally have space to speak. Think about this. When was the last time you were truly still, not distracted by your phone, not planning your next task, not replaying a conversation in your mind? Maybe it was when you stood alone in nature, feeling the breeze against your face. Or maybe it was a quiet moment of prayer or meditation when the world outside seemed to fade and all that remained was presence. That stillness, that silence is not emptiness. It's connection. It's the doorway to something greater than yourself. In my own journey, I used to avoid silence at all costs. I filled my days with work, my evenings with screens, my mind with constant thought. I thought the busier I was, the more I mattered, but deep down I felt exhausted, disconnected, like I was always chasing something I could never quite catch. It wasn't until I began to embrace stillness, to set aside time for quiet each day, that I realized how much wisdom I'd been missing. In the silence, I heard my own heart. In the stillness, I felt the presence of something sacred, and I understood the peace I'd been searching for wasn't out there. It had been waiting in the quiet all along. The great spiritual traditions of the world have always known this, whether it's mindfulness, Salah meditation, beneath a tree, or simply breathing deeply and being present. Silence opens the space where truth can rise. It's in the quiet that we hear the whispers of the soul. It's in the stillness that clarity returns. And here's something powerful to consider. Silence is not loneliness. It's not isolation. In fact, true silence connects us to ourselves, to others, to the divine, to life itself. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by the chaos, by the endless noise of the modern world, I invite you to do something different. Instead of trying to match the world's pace, slow down. Instead of filling every moment with noise, seek the quiet. Even 5 minutes of stillness can begin to change how you feel. Ask yourself, where in my life can I make space for silence? Is it in the early morning, before the rush of the day begins? Is it in the moments between tasks, when you can pause and simply breathe? Is it in nature, where the earth reminds you how to just be? What might you discover if you gave yourself permission to be still? What truths might finally have a chance to reach you once the noise fades? Remember, silence is not something to fear. It's a gift. It's the medicine your soul has been craving. In a world that rarely stops talking, and it's always within reach, if only you choose to listen. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and join me as we continue exploring the spiritual lessons that can bring us peace in a noisy world. Together, let's rediscover the healing power of stillness and learn to meet life with presence, not just reaction. Let's pause for a moment and ask a question most of us don't stop to consider. What kind of love are you searching for? If you're like many of us, you've probably spent much of your life chasing love that felt safe, that felt certain, that made you feel wanted or complete. Maybe it was love from a partner, a friend, a parent, or even the world's approval. And yet, despite having those moments of feeling loved, why is it that so often we still feel empty, or bound, or afraid to lose it? Here's a truth that spiritual wisdom has taught me, and it might change how you see love forever. Real love, the kind that frees you rather than binds you, is unconditional. See, worldly love often comes wrapped in conditions. I will love you if you meet my expectations. I will care for you as long as you make me feel good. I'll stay as long as you fit into the story I've written in my head. And the moment those conditions aren't met, what happens? That love starts to fade. It turns cold. It may even turn to resentment. But here's the thing, that's not love. That's attachment. That's a contract, not a connection. And the more we cling to this kind of conditional love, the more we trap ourselves in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. Now imagine a different kind of love. A love that gives not because it expects anything in return, but because giving is its nature. A love that doesn't shrink when things get hard, that doesn't demand you change, that doesn't measure your worth. This is spiritual love. Love that is rooted not in ego but in soul. Love that sees beyond the surface, beyond flaws, beyond mistakes, beyond roles. Love that simply is. And here's the most beautiful part. When you start loving this way, when you love without needing, without clinging, without trying to control you, set not just the other person free, you set yourself free. Think about it. How often do we suffer? Not because of love itself, but because of what we tie to it. The expectations, the conditions, the shoulds and musts that weigh it down. What would happen if we dropped all of that? If we let love be what it was always meant to be, pure, open, generous. I want to share a small story from my own life. There was a time when I loved someone deeply, but I didn't know how to love without conditions. I wanted them to act a certain way, to choose me in certain moments, to fulfill a picture I had in my mind. And when they didn't, I felt hurt, rejected, angry. It wasn't until I learned to let go of my expectations, to love them for who they were, not who I wanted them to be, that I found peace. And in that peace, I realized love isn't about possession. It's about presence. So here's something for you to reflect on. Where in your life are you holding on to love with conditions? And what might it feel like to love without them? Maybe it starts with loving yourself that way, not only when you succeed, but even when you fall short. Maybe it starts with seeing the people in your life with fresh eyes, letting go of what you want them to be, and appreciating who they are. Spiritual love doesn't bind. It liberates. It doesn't shrink your world. It expands it. It invites you to step beyond fear and into the vast open space where love isn't earned or lost, it simply flows. And if that's the kind of love your soul is longing for, I invite you to begin the journey of practicing it in small moments, in quiet ways. Watch how it transforms not just your relationships, but your entire experience of life. If this speaks to your heart, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and join me as we continue exploring spiritual truths that can bring freedom, peace, and deeper connection in a world that so often confuses love with attachment. Together, let's learn to love and live unconditionally. Let me ask you a question that might stop you in your tracks. What if you're not broken? What if you've never been? I know that might sound surprising. Because for most of our lives, we've been told in subtle ways and sometimes in loud, direct ones that we're incomplete, that we need to achieve more, gain more, prove more, in order to finally be enough. From the time we're children, we're taught that worth comes from success, that validation comes from the outside, from applause, from approval, from how well we fit into the world's idea of who we should be. And so we spend our lives chasing titles, chasing recognition, chasing that feeling that says, now I am whole. But here's the truth that deep spirituality reminds us of, and it's a truth that can change everything. You are already whole. You always have been. You see, the idea that you're broken is just that, an idea, a belief planted by a world that profits from your insecurity, a world that keeps you striving, keeps you searching, keeps you distracted from what's already inside you. Real spiritual wisdom doesn't ask you to become something new. It asks you to remember who you've always been, to peel back the layers of doubt, fear, and false stories, and rediscover the light that's always been shining at your core. You are not just a name, not just a job title, not just a list of achievements or failures. You are a soul, vast, radiant, complete. You are a spark of light in this world, not because of what you do or how others see you, but because of who you are at your essence. And I want you to really think about that. How would your life change if you stopped trying to fix yourself and started trusting that you're enough right here, right now? Let me share something from my own journey. For years, I believed I had to earn my worth. I thought if I worked hard enough, achieved enough, pleased enough people, then I'd finally feel complete. But no matter how much I did, that feeling of wholeness always seemed just out of reach, like chasing the horizon. It wasn't until I began turning inward through stillness, through reflection, through spiritual practice, that I realized I'd been looking in the wrong place. The completeness I was searching for wasn't in the next goal. It wasn't in someone else's approval. It had been within me all along, hidden beneath the noise of my own self-doubt. And that's what I want for you to stop chasing and start remembering. Ask yourself this: what if today you chose to see yourself as whole, not perfect? We're all beautifully imperfect in our human ways, but whole, enough, worthy. What might change in how you move through the world? Would you treat yourself with more kindness? Would you stop comparing yourself to everyone around you? Would you finally exhale and let go of the pressure to be more? The truth is, you don't need another accomplishment to complete you. You don't need to become someone else. You need only to come home to yourself, to the soul, the light, the being that has been whole from the very beginning. So today, I invite you to stop for a moment, close your eyes, breathe, and as you exhale, release the idea that you are broken. Breathe in the truth that you are enough. Let that truth settle deep into your heart. If these words speak to something within you, I hope you'll like this video, subscribe, and join me as we continue exploring spiritual truths that help us live with more peace, more presence, and more love for ourselves and the world around us. Remember, you are not broken. You are whole. You always have been. Now is the time to remember it. As we come to the close of this reflection, I want to leave you with something to truly consider, something that might gently shift the way you see your own life. In the world we live in, we're taught from the very start that life is about building outward. Build the career, build the image, build the success. We measure ourselves by what we can show, what we can own, what others can see. But deep spirituality invites us to a different kind of building, a building that begins within, a building of the self that's rooted in love, grounded in presence, and connected to something far greater than ourselves. This path, the spiritual path, doesn't hand out degrees or titles. There's no certificate at the end, no applause from the crowd. What you gain on this path isn't found on paper. It's etched into the soul. It's carved through moments of surrender, through tears that wash away what no longer serves you, through the quiet awakenings that remind you of who you really are. And what do you find in return? A peace no success can buy, a freedom no circumstance can take away. Because when you walk this path, when you choose depth over distraction, essence over ego, truth over trend, you discover that the life you've been searching for was never out there. It was always waiting inside you. So let me ask you this. What are you building right now? Is it a life that looks good on the outside, or a self that feels true on the inside? If your heart longs for something deeper, something real, then know this. The spiritual path isn't just an option. It's the homecoming your soul has been waiting for. If this speaks to you, I invite you to like this video, subscribe, and join me on this journey as we continue to explore the truths that bring us back to what really matters. Remember, The peace you seek, the freedom you desire, they begin the moment you choose to build not just a life, but a self that's anchored in love, presence, and connection to what is greater. And that, my friend, is a life no storm can shake.